Three men dragged a screaming 6-year-old girl toward a black van. 8-year-old Marcus had 12 hours to reach the foster interview that would end 2 years of sleeping behind dumpsters. 12 hours until someone might finally want him. He watched the girl's pink sneakers scrape against the gravel, heard her shriek, for her daddy saw the van doors swing open like a mouth ready to swallow her whole. His legs wouldn't move. His heart wouldn't stop. Then he remembered she'd shared her sandwich with him yesterday, the only person who'd been kind to him in 2 years. Marcus stopped running toward his future and sprinted toward 3 killers instead. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're watching from in the comments. I want to see how far Marcus's story travels. Enjoy. Marcus Webb learned early that invisible boys don't get second chances. He was 6 years old when his mother stopped breathing on the bathroom floor, the needle still hanging from her arm. He was 6 years old when he called 911 with shaking hands and waited 47 minutes for someone to come. He was 6 years old when the paramedics finally arrived, looked at him standing there in his dirty pajamas, and one of them muttered to the other, "Another one for the system." That was the last time Marcus cried. The group home was worse than the streets. Marcus figured that out within the first week. The older boys stole his food. The staff looked through him like he was made of glass. And the director, a woman named Mrs. Patterson who smelled like cigarettes and disappointment, made it clear from day one that boys like Marcus were just numbers on a government check. "You're not special," she told him on his first night, her voice flat and tired. "You're not going to get adopted. You're not going to get a family. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be for everyone." Marcus accepted it for exactly 3 months. Then he ran. Living on the streets of Bakersfield, California taught Marcus things that no 8-year-old should know. He learned which dumpsters behind which restaurants had food that wouldn't make him sick. He learned which alleys were safe to sleep in and which ones belonged to people who'd hurt a kid without thinking twice. He learned how to make himself small, how to move without being seen, how to exist in the spaces between normal life where nobody looked. Most importantly, he learned that hungry people would do almost anything for food. "Please," he'd said to a woman outside a grocery store 6 months ago, "I haven't eaten in 2 days. Please." She'd looked at him, really looked, and for a moment Marcus thought she might help. Then her eyes slid away like he wasn't even there, and she walked past him without a word. That was the day Marcus stopped asking. He stole instead. Small things. A sandwich here, a bottle of water there. Never enough to get caught, never enough to make anyone care. Just enough to survive another day. His grandmother's voice haunted him in those moments. She'd died when he was 4, but he remembered her words like she'd spoken them yesterday. "Protect the weak, Marcus. God sees everything." "Sorry, Grandma," he whispered every time he took something that wasn't his. But God stopped watching a long time ago. Oh. Everything changed on a Tuesday morning in July. Marcus was hiding behind the auto shop on 5th Street, counting the change he'd found in a parking lot when he heard footsteps approaching. He pressed himself deeper into the shadows, making himself invisible like he'd done 1,000 times before. "Heard there's a kid sleeping back here," a man's voice said. "Homeless. Been here about a week." Marcus's heart stopped. "You sure?" Another voice, female this time. "I don't see anyone." The mechanics said they've seen him. Small kid, maybe 7 or 8. Black hair, skinny as a rail. The footsteps came closer. Marcus held his breath. Then a face appeared around the corner of the dumpster. A woman, maybe 60 years old, with kind eyes and a wooden cross hanging around her neck. She saw him immediately, and instead of looking away like everyone else did, she smiled. "Hello there," she said softly. "My name is Sister Dorothy. I'm from St. Michael's Church. I'm not going to hurt you." Marcus didn't move. He'd heard promises like that before. "I've been looking for you." She continued, kneeling down so she was at his level. "Some of the shop workers told me about you. They said you've been living back here for a while now. I'm not going back to the group home." The words came out harder than Marcus intended. "I'll run again. I always run." Sister Dorothy's smile didn't waver. "I'm not here to take you to a group home, Marcus." He flinched at the sound of his name. "How do you know my name?" "I've been doing this work for 30 years, sweetheart. I know most of the children in this city who need help. She reached into her pocket and pulled out a folded piece of paper. I'm here because I found someone who wants to meet you. Marcus stared at the paper like it might explode. What do you mean? There's a family, the Hendersons. They've been looking to foster a child, and when I described you to them, they asked if they could meet you. She held out the paper. The appointment is tomorrow morning at 9, at the County Foster Services office on Maple Street. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Marcus's hands were shaking as he took the paper. He unfolded it slowly, reading the address 3 times to make sure it was real. They want to meet me. His voice cracked on the words. Why? Sister Dorothy's eyes glistened. Because everyone deserves a chance, Marcus. Everyone deserves to be seen. Damn. That night, Marcus couldn't sleep. He lay behind the auto shop, clutching the paper so tightly his fingers ached, staring up at the stars through the gap between buildings. Tomorrow morning. 12 hours. 12 hours until someone might actually want him. He practiced what he would say. Hello, my name is Marcus Webb. I'm 8 years old. I like reading and I'm good at math, and I promise I won't cause any trouble. No, that sounded desperate. Hi, I'm Marcus. It's nice to meet you. Better, calmer, like a normal kid meeting normal people. I'll be good, he whispered into the darkness. I promise I'll be so good. I'll do whatever they want. I'll be quiet and I won't eat too much and I'll clean up after myself and I'll never complain about anything ever. The stars didn't answer. Marcus closed his eyes and tried to remember what it felt like to sleep in a bed. It had been so long he'd almost forgotten. Did beds still feel soft? Did blankets still feel warm? Tomorrow, he might find out. He held the paper against his chest like a shield and waited for morning. The soup kitchen at St. Michael's opened at 7 a.m. Marcus was there at 6:45 trying to clean himself up in the bathroom. He scrubbed his face with paper towels, and cold water ran wet fingers through his tangled hair and did his best to smooth out the wrinkles in his only shirt. The mirror showed him a thin boy with hollow cheeks and eyes that looked too old for his face. Not exactly handsome, he muttered to his reflection, but maybe they won't care. Sister Dorothy found him in the food line, still clutching the paper in his back pocket. You look nice, she said, and the way she said it, like she actually meant it, made Marcus's throat tight. Do you think they'll like me? I think they'd be crazy not to. Marcus nodded, not trusting himself to speak. The clock on the wall said 7:23, less than 2 hours until the appointment. He needed to start walking soon. The foster services office was across town, and he didn't have money for a bus. Marcus! He looked up at the sound of a child's voice. A little girl stood beside his table, maybe 6 years old, with dark curly hair and pink sneakers that lit up when she walked. She was holding a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly cut into triangles, and looking at him with curious brown eyes. You're the boy who lives behind the car place, she said. I've seen you when my daddy drives me to school. Marcus tensed, ready to deny it, ready to run. But something about this girl's face made him hesitate. She wasn't looking at him like he was dirty or dangerous or pathetic. She was just looking at him like he was a person. Yeah, he admitted. That's me. The girl nodded like this was perfectly normal information. Then, without warning, she held out half of her sandwich. You look hungry, she said simply. My mommy always makes me too much food. Marcus stared at the sandwich. His stomach growled so loudly he was sure the whole room heard it. I can't take your food. Why not? Because. He didn't have an answer. Because you need it. The girl shrugged and set the sandwich down on his table. I already ate the other half, and my daddy says sharing is what good people do. She smiled at him, bright and innocent and completely unaware of how much that smile meant. I'm Lily. What's your name? Marcus. That's a nice name. She heard someone calling from across the room and turned. I gotta go. My daddy's waiting. But I'll see you again, okay? We come here every Sunday to help serve food. She bounced away, her light-up sneakers flashing with every step. Marcus looked down at the sandwich in his hands. Peanut butter and jelly, cut into triangles, still warm from wherever her mother had made it. It was the first food anyone had given him willingly in over a year. He ate it slowly, savoring every bite, and when it was gone, he folded the napkin and put it in his pocket next to the paper with the address. Some things were too important to throw away. Marcus left the soup kitchen at 7:45. The foster services office was a 40-minute walk. He'd have plenty of time if he moved quickly and didn't stop for anything. The paper in his pocket seemed to pulse with every step, reminding him what was waiting at the end of this walk. A family. A real family. Maybe a bed. Maybe hot meals. Maybe someone who would look at him and see something worth keeping. "Please," he whispered as he walked. "Please let them like me. Please let them want me. Please." He was passing the old trailer park on Cedar Street when he heard the screaming. Marcus froze. The sound was high-pitched, terrified, unmistakably a child. It came from the small playground behind the park, the one with the rusted swings and the broken slide that nobody ever fixed. Every instinct Marcus had developed over 2 years on the streets screamed at him to keep walking. Don't get involved. Don't attract attention. Mind your own business and survive. But his grandmother's voice was louder. "Protect the weak, Marcus. God sees everything." He ran. 3 men, black van, back doors open. Marcus saw it all in a single frozen moment that would replay in his nightmares for years. A little girl kicking, biting, screaming, being dragged across the gravel by 2 men, while a third held the van doors wide. Her pink sneakers scraped against the ground, the lights flashing frantically with every kick. Pink sneakers, light-up sneakers. Marcus's blood turned to ice. Lily, the girl who'd shared her sandwich. The girl with the curly hair and the innocent smile, and the daddy who was waiting for her somewhere, not knowing that his daughter was being stolen in broad daylight. "Help!" Lily screamed, her voice raw with terror. "Daddy! Someone help me!" One of the men clamped a hand over her mouth. "Shut up, brat. One more sound and I'll—" Lily bit him. The man howled and yanked his hand back. "You little—" "Get her in the van!" the third man snapped. "Now! Before someone sees—" Marcus's legs were shaking so badly he could barely stand. His heart was pounding so hard it drowned out everything else. Every logical part of his brain was screaming at him to run, to hide, to find a payphone and call 911 and let adults handle this. But by the time adults arrived, Lily would be gone. And Marcus knew with a certainty that went deeper than logic, that if that van drove away, no one would ever see her again. He looked at his watch. 8:03 a.m. Less than an hour until his foster appointment. Less than an hour until the first chance at a real life he'd ever been given. The men were almost at the van now. Lily was still fighting, still kicking, but she was smaller and weaker, and there were 3 of them, and she was losing. "Please," Marcus whispered. "Please, don't make me choose." But God wasn't listening. Or maybe God was listening, and this was his answer. Marcus stepped out of the shadows. He didn't have a plan, he didn't have a weapon, he didn't have anything except 2 years of survival instincts and a promise he'd made to a grandmother who'd been dead longer than she'd been alive. "Hey!" His voice cracked on the word. "Hey! Leave her alone!" All 3 men turned. For a moment, nobody moved. Then the third man, the one holding the doors, started laughing. "Look at this. A little hero." He stepped toward Marcus, and up close he was huge. Tattoos crawling up his neck, eyes that had seen things Marcus couldn't imagine. "Get lost, kid. This doesn't concern you. Let her go." "Or what?" The man was still laughing. "You gonna call the cops? By the time they get here, we'll be 3 counties away. Now beat it before I decide to put you in the van too." Marcus's legs wanted to run. Every survival instinct he had was screaming at him to flee. But Lily was watching him. Through the hands of her captors, through her tears, she was looking at him with something that might have been hope. "I said let her go." The man's laughter died. His face twisted into something ugly. "Wrong answer, kid." He moved faster than Marcus expected and grabbed him by the collar. Marcus felt his feet leave the ground as the man lifted him like he weighed nothing. "You want to be a hero?" The man's breath was hot and foul against Marcus's face. Heroes die, kid. That's the only thing heroes are good for. He threw Marcus against the chain-link fence. The impact drove the air from Marcus's lungs. Stars exploded behind his eyes. He heard Lily screaming his name. How did she know his name? And then the world tilted sideways, and he was on the ground gasping, tasting blood. "Finish loading her," the man said. "I'll deal with this." Through blurred vision, Marcus watched the other two men drag Lily toward the van. She was fighting harder now, screaming louder, but they were too strong. "No!" Marcus pushed himself to his knees. "No, no, no!" The man kicked him back down. "Stay down, hero." But Marcus had spent 2 years learning how to take hits and keep moving. 2 years learning that pain was temporary, but survival was everything. He grabbed a handful of gravel and threw it in the man's face. It wasn't enough. It was never going to be enough. But it was something. The man staggered back, clawing at his eyes, cursing. Marcus scrambled to his feet and ran, not away from the van, but toward it. "Lily!" She heard him. She twisted in her captor's grip and reached out her hand. Marcus grabbed it. For one impossible second, he had her. His fingers wrapped around her small wrist and he pulled with everything he had. She was coming loose. She was something hit him from behind. Marcus went down hard, dragging Lily with him. One of the men ripped her away and Marcus heard her screaming his name again over and over as they finally got her into the van. "Marcus! Marcus!" The doors slammed shut. "Finish him," one of the men said. "We don't need witnesses." Marcus closed his eyes and waited for the blow that would end everything. It didn't come. Instead, he heard something, a sound so faint at first that he thought he was imagining it, a low rumble like distant thunder growing louder with every passing second. The men heard it too. "What the hell is that?" The rumble became a roar. The roar became thunder. And then Marcus saw them. Motorcycles. Dozens of them. Pouring into the trailer park like an avenging army, their engines screaming, their riders huge and terrifying and wrapped in black leather. The men ran. They scrambled into the front of the van and peeled out tires, shrieking, and Marcus watched helplessly as they disappeared down the street with Lily still inside. "No!" He tried to stand, tried to run after them, but his legs buckled and he went down again. Blood dripped from his forehead. His ribs screamed with every breath. The motorcycles roared past him, chasing the van, and for a moment Marcus thought it was over. They would catch the van. They would save Lily. Everything would be okay. Then one motorcycle stopped. The engine cut off. Boots hit the gravel, and a shadow fell over Marcus. He looked up into the face of the biggest man he had ever seen. "Who are you?" the man demanded. His voice was like gravel in a blender. "What happened here?" Marcus tried to speak, but all that came out was a whisper. "They took her. They took Lily, the girl with the pink shoes." The man went completely still. "What did you say? Lily?" Marcus was crying now, hot tears cutting through the blood on his face. "Her name is Lily. She gave me a sandwich. She was nice to me. And they took her, and I tried to stop them, but I couldn't, and I'm sorry, I'm so sorry." The man dropped to his knees. Up close, his face was terrifying. Tattoos everywhere. Scars that spoke of violence. Eyes that had seen death and dealt it in equal measure. But those eyes were filling with something Marcus recognized. Fear. "Lily," the man said. Curly hair, brown eyes, pink sneakers. Marcus nodded. "That's my daughter." If you've ever watched someone's world shatter in real time, you know the sound it makes. It's not loud. It's not dramatic. It's quiet. A sharp intake of breath. A trembling exhale, the cracking of something deep inside that will never fully heal. The man Lily's father made that sound now. "Viper!" Another biker ran up breathless. "We lost them. They turned onto the highway and—" He saw the look on Viper's face and stopped cold. "Boss, they have Lily." Viper's voice was barely human. "They have my daughter." Silence. Then chaos. Men shouting into phones. Motorcycles roaring to life. Someone screaming coordinates, street names, descriptions of the van. Through it all, Viper stayed kneeling beside Marcus. "Tell me everything," he said. "Everything you saw. Everything you heard. Marcus told him. The three men, the black van, the partial license plate he'd glimpsed as they drove away, the direction they'd gone, everything. When he finished, Viper stared at him for a long moment. You tried to stop them. It wasn't a question. I tried. Marcus's voice broke. I'm sorry. I wasn't strong enough. You tried. Viper reached out and gripped Marcus's shoulder. You're just a kid. You're half their size, and you tried to save my daughter. She shared her sandwich with me. Viper's grip tightened. What's your name, kid? Marcus Webb. Marcus. Viper stood, pulling Marcus up with him. I'm going to find my daughter, and when I bring her home, I'm going to find you too. Understand? Marcus didn't understand, not really, but he nodded anyway. Viper climbed onto his motorcycle. The engine roared to life. Wait, Marcus called. How will you find me? Viper looked back at him, and despite everything, the terror, the rage, the desperate fear for his daughter, he almost smiled. Kid, I'm Viper Rains, president of the Steel Wolves. Finding people is what I do. Then he was gone, thundering down the street after the van that held his daughter, leaving Marcus standing alone in the dust. Marcus looked at his watch. 8:47 a.m. The Foster appointment was at 9. He had 13 minutes to get across town for the meeting that would decide the rest of his life. His ribs screamed with every breath. Blood still dripped from the cut on his forehead. His shirt was torn and filthy and covered in gravel dust. He started walking anyway, one foot in front of the other. That was all he knew how to do. That was all he'd ever known how to do. Please, Hope, he whispered with every step. Please, let them understand. Please let them give me another chance. But even as he walked, even as he pushed through the pain, Marcus knew the truth. Some chances only come once, and he'd used his up on a little girl with pink sneakers who'd given him half a sandwich. The Foster Services office was cool and quiet. Marcus stood in the lobby, dripping sweat and blood onto the clean tile floor, watching the receptionist's face cycle through shock, disgust, and pity. I'm here for my 9 o'clock appointment, he said, with the Henderson family. My name is Marcus Webb. The receptionist stared at him. Honey, it's... She checked the clock. It's 9:23. The Hendersons left 20 minutes ago. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Left. They waited as long as they could, but when you didn't show up... She trailed off, her expression softening. I'm sorry, sweetie. They asked us to reschedule with another child. Another child. Not him. Never him. Marcus's legs gave out. He sat down hard on one of the plastic chairs, staring at nothing. Feeling nothing. The paper with the address was still in his pocket. He pulled it out and looked at it, this crumpled piece of hope that had meant everything just hours ago. I was saving someone, he said, his voice hollow. There was a girl. She was being kidnapped. I tried to help her. The receptionist's expression flickered. That's very brave, Marcus. But the Hendersons, they specifically wanted a child who was reliable, who showed up when they said they would. I'm sure you understand. Marcus understood. He understood perfectly. In the eyes of the world, being a hero didn't matter. Being brave didn't matter. Doing the right thing didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was showing up. And he hadn't. Sister Dorothy found him behind the auto shop 3 hours later. He was sitting with his back against the wall, staring at nothing, the crumpled paper still clutched in his hand. He didn't look up when she approached. Marcus. No response. Marcus, I heard what happened. The receptionist called me. Still nothing. Sister Dorothy sat down beside him, ignoring the dirty ground and the smell of motor oil. For a long moment, she didn't speak. Then, you tried to save a little girl from kidnappers. Marcus flinched. The police were here earlier, Sister Dorothy continued. They're looking for you. They want to talk to you about what you saw. They won't find her. Marcus's voice was flat dead. Those men, they knew what they were doing. They'll be long gone by now. You don't know that. Yes, I do. He finally looked at her, and the emptiness in his eyes made her heart break. I know, because that's how it always works. Bad people get away with things. Good people try to help and get punished for it. That's just how the world is. Marcus, I had a chance. His voice cracked. I finally had a chance. A family. A real family. And I gave it up for a girl I'd met once. A girl who gave me half a sandwich. He laughed, but there was no humor in it. What kind of idiot does that? Sister Dorothy was quiet for a long moment. The good kind, she finally said. The kind of idiot this world needs more of. Marcus shook his head. I'm nobody, sister. I'm invisible. And today proved that I always will be. Before she could respond, the sound of motorcycles filled the air. Lots of motorcycles. Marcus's head snapped up. They came around the corner like a rolling thunder, 20, 30, maybe more. Black leather. Gleaming chrome. The steel wolves patch on every back. And at the front, leading them all, was Viper Rains, with a small figure perched on the seat behind him, arms wrapped around his waist. A small figure wearing pink sneakers. Marcus stood up so fast he nearly fell. Lily! The motorcycle stopped. Viper climbed off first, then turned and lifted his daughter down like she was made of glass. She was pale, shaking, but alive. Alive. Marcus. Lily broke free from her father's grip and ran. She slammed into Marcus with enough force to knock him backward, her small arms wrapping around him, her face buried in his torn shirt. You came back, she sobbed. You came back for me. Daddy said you tried to save me. You came back. Marcus held her too stunned to speak. Over her head, he watched Viper approach. The big man's face was unreadable. We found them, Viper said. 20 miles outside the city, heading for the state line. His jaw tightened. They won't be taking anyone's daughter ever again. Marcus didn't ask what that meant. He didn't want to know. You got there in time, he said instead. You saved her. I got there in time because you slowed them down. Viper's voice was rough. You gave us the license plate. You gave us the direction. You fought 3 grown men to protect a child you'd met once. He paused. Why? Marcus looked down at Lily, still clinging to him like he was the only safe thing in the world. She shared her sandwich with me. Viper stared at him for a long moment. Kid, when's the last time you ate a real meal? Marcus didn't answer. Viper nodded slowly. That's what I thought. He turned to one of his men. Razor, call Rosa. Tell her we're bringing home 2. Marcus's legs gave out. Viper caught him before he hit the ground. Easy, kid. When's the last time you slept? I don't remember. And that cut on your head, you've been walking around with that for hours. Marcus nodded weakly. Viper muttered something under his breath that sounded like a prayer and a curse combined. All right, Marcus Webb. Here's what's going to happen. You're coming with us. You're going to eat, sleep, and let someone look at those injuries. And then we're going to have a conversation about your future. He paused. Any objections? Marcus wanted to object. He wanted to say that he didn't need help, didn't need anyone, had been taking care of himself for 2 years just fine. But Lily was still holding his hand, and Sister Dorothy was crying and smiling at the same time. And for the first time in longer than he could remember, someone was looking at him like he mattered. No objections, he whispered. Viper nodded. Good. Welcome to the pack, kid. The ride lasted 17 minutes. Marcus sat behind Viper on the motorcycle, his thin arms wrapped around the man's leather jacket, feeling the rumble of the engine vibrate through his entire body. He'd never been on a motorcycle before. He'd never been anywhere at 60 miles an hour with the wind tearing at his face and the world blurring past in streaks of color. He should have been terrified. Instead, for the first time in 2 years, he felt safe. Lily rode with another biker, a massive man with a gray beard, who Viper called Bear, and every time Marcus looked over, she was watching him. Not with fear anymore, with something that looked almost like wonder. When the motorcycles finally stopped, Marcus's legs were shaking so badly he nearly fell. Viper caught him by the arm. Easy, you're running on empty, kid. Let's get some food in you before you collapse. Marcus wanted to argue. He wanted to say he was fine, that he didn't need help, that he'd been taking care of himself since he was 6 years old. But then the front door opened and a woman stepped out. She was maybe 40, with dark hair pulled back and worry lines etched deep around her eyes. She looked at Viper first, then at Lily, and the sound that came out of her was something between a sob and a prayer. "Baby. Oh, my baby." Lily launched herself off Bear's motorcycle and ran into her mother's arms. The woman Rosa Marcus remembered dropped to her knees and held her daughter so tight it looked like she was trying to absorb her completely. "I've got you," Rosa kept saying. "Mama's got you. You're safe now. You're safe." Marcus watched them, and something inside his chest cracked open. He couldn't remember the last time anyone had held him like that. "Rosa." Viper's voice was soft, softer than Marcus had heard it. Rosa looked up, tears streaming down her face, and that's when she saw Marcus. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Rosa stood, keeping one arm around Lily, and walked toward him. She stopped 2 feet away and studied his face, the cut on his forehead, the bruises forming on his cheekbone, the hollow look in his eyes. "You're Marcus." It wasn't a question. "Yes, ma'am." Rosa's chin trembled. "You tried to save my daughter." Marcus's voice cracked. "I wasn't strong enough. They still took her. I'm sorry." "You fought 3 grown men." Rosa reached out and touched his face, her fingers gentle against his bruised skin. "You're 8 years old, and you fought 3 grown men to protect a child you didn't even know." She shared her sandwich with me. Rosa made a sound that was half laugh, half sob. "Come inside, Marcus. You're home now." Home. The word echoed in Marcus's head as he stepped through the front door. He didn't know what he'd expected. Something dark and dangerous, maybe. A clubhouse full of rough men and louder women. Instead, he found warmth. Pictures covered the walls. Lily as a baby. Lily on her first day of school. Viper and Rosa on their wedding day, both of them young and smiling like the world was full of nothing but promise. "Sit down before you fall down," Rosa ordered, steering him toward a chair. "Victor, get the first aid kit, and someone make this child a sandwich." "I'm not hungry," Marcus lied. His stomach growled loud enough to echo off the walls. Rosa raised an eyebrow. "Right. When's the last time you ate?" Marcus thought about it. "Lily gave me half her sandwich. This morning. And before that." He couldn't remember. Rosa's expression shifted into something fierce. "Victor." "Already on it." Viper disappeared into the kitchen. Marcus sat in the chair, too exhausted to argue, and watched as the house filled with people. Bikers came and went, their voices low and urgent. Someone mentioned police. Someone else mentioned handling it ourselves. Every few minutes, one of them would look at Marcus with an expression he couldn't read. "They're not staring because they're angry," Lily said, appearing beside him. She'd changed clothes, pink pajamas now, with little flowers on them, and her mother had clearly cleaned her up. "They're staring because they can't believe you did what you did." "What do you mean?" "Bear told me. He said you threw rocks at the bad men. He said you grabbed my hand and tried to pull me away." She tilted her head. "He said you're either the bravest kid he's ever seen or the dumbest." Marcus almost smiled. "Probably both." "I think you're brave." Lily climbed into the chair next to him. "You came back for me, even when they hurt you, even when you could have run away. You gave me your sandwich. That's a silly reason to almost die." "Maybe." Marcus looked at her, this small, fierce girl who'd been through something terrible and still had the courage to smile. "But it mattered to me." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she reached out and took his hand. "You're my friend now," she said. "Friends don't leave each other." Marcus's throat tightened. "I don't know how to be a friend." "That's okay. I'll teach you." Viper returned with the plate piled high with food. A sandwich, chips, apple slices, a glass of milk so cold condensation was already beating on the outside. Marcus stared at it like it might disappear. "Eat," Viper said. "You look like you haven't had a decent meal in months." 2 years, Marcus corrected automatically. The room went silent. Viper set the plate down slowly. 2 years. Since my mom died. I was in a group home for a while, but... Marcus shrugged. I ran. Why? Because they didn't want me. None of them wanted me. He picked up the sandwich but didn't eat it. I figured if nobody was going to care whether I lived or died, I might as well take care of myself. Rosa made a soft sound. Viper's jaw tightened. And you've been on the street since then, alone. Marcus nodded. You're 8 years old. I know how old I am. Viper sat down across from him, his massive frame making the chair creak in protest. For a long moment, he just studied Marcus's face. The foster appointment, he finally said. The one you missed this morning. That was your way out. It wasn't a question, but Marcus answered anyway. Yeah, Sister Dorothy found me a family, the Hendersons. They wanted to meet me. He finally took a bite of the sandwich. It was turkey and cheese, and it tasted like heaven. They left when I didn't show up, found another kid instead. Because you stopped to help Lily. Someone had to. Viper leaned forward. No, Marcus, that's where you're wrong. Someone didn't have to. You could have kept walking. You could have called the police and kept walking. You could have pretended you didn't see anything and made it to your appointment on time. His voice dropped. But you didn't. You threw yourself at 3 armed men to protect a child you'd met once. Why? Marcus put down the sandwich. Because she was scared, he said simply. And nobody deserves to be scared alone. The silence stretched on for what felt like hours. Then Rosa spoke. Victor. One word, but it carried everything. Viper looked at his wife. Something passed between them, a conversation without words, the kind that only happens between people who've spent decades learning each other's hearts. Finally, Viper nodded. Marcus, he leaned forward. I need to ask you something, and I need you to answer honestly. Can you do that? Yes, sir. What do you want? Not what you think you can get. Not what you think we want to hear. What do you actually want? Marcus opened his mouth to give the answer he'd rehearsed 1,000 times. I want to belong somewhere. I want someone to care if I live or die. I want to stop being invisible. But what came out was different. I want to stop being afraid. Viper didn't flinch. Afraid of what? Everything. Marcus's voice cracked. I'm afraid of being hungry. I'm afraid of being cold. I'm afraid of the people who want to hurt me. I'm afraid of the people who don't care if I exist. He wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. I'm afraid that I'm going to die behind some dumpster and nobody will even notice. The tears came then, hot and unstoppable. I'm tired, Marcus sobbed. I'm so tired of being afraid all the time. I just want to feel safe. Just once. I just want to feel like somebody sees me. Rosa was crying too now. Even some of the bikers had turned away, their shoulders rigid with emotion they couldn't express. But Viper didn't cry. He stood up, walked around the table, and knelt in front of Marcus. Look at me. Marcus looked. I see you, Marcus Webb. I see exactly who you are. Viper's voice was steady as stone. And I'm going to make you a promise right now. As long as I'm breathing, you will never sleep behind a dumpster again. You will never go hungry again. You will never be invisible again. He gripped Marcus's shoulders. Do you understand me? Marcus shook his head. Why, you don't even know me. I know enough. Viper's grip tightened. I know you're 8 years old and you've survived things that would break most adults. I know you gave up your only chance at a family to save my daughter. I know you're sitting here with cracked ribs and a head wound because you refused to let a little girl be taken by monsters. His voice dropped. That tells me everything I need to know about who you are. But I'm nobody. Wrong. Viper stood, pulling Marcus up with him. You're a wolf kid. You just didn't know it yet. The next few hours passed in a blur. A man named Doc, an actual doctor who rode with the club, examined Marcus's injuries. 2 cracked ribs, a mild concussion, a cut that needed stitches. He worked quickly and efficiently, his hands surprisingly gentle for someone covered in tattoos. "You're lucky," Doc said, threading the needle. "Another half-inch and this cut would have hit something important." "I've had worse." Doc paused. "Kid, you're 8. "I know how old I am." Doc finished the stitches in silence. When he was done, he looked at Marcus with something that might have been respect. "Viper wasn't lying about that wolf thing," he said. "You've got more fight in you than half the men in this club. Is that good?" "It's rare." Doc packed up his supplies. "Get some rest. And for God's sake, eat something. You're about 20 pounds underweight." Marcus ate. He ate until his stomach hurt, then ate some more because Rosa kept putting food in front of him and he couldn't remember how to say no. "Slow down," Rosa said gently. "It's not going anywhere." "I know." Marcus took another bite anyway. "But sometimes it does." Rosa's expression crumbled. She turned away, but not before Marcus saw her wipe her eyes. "I'm sorry," he said immediately. "I didn't mean to." "Don't apologize." Rosa turned back, her voice fierce. "Don't ever apologize for telling the truth. You hear me?" Marcus nodded, confused. "What happened to you was wrong, Marcus. All of it. The group home, the streets, all those people who should have helped you and didn't." She knelt beside his chair. "But that's over now. Whatever happens next, that life is over." "What does happen next?" Rosa looked at Viper. Viper looked at Rosa. "That depends on you," Viper said. "But we'd like you to stay." Marcus didn't understand. "Stay here, with us." Viper crossed his arms. "We have a spare room. Lily's been asking for a brother since she could talk. And frankly, kid, you need someone looking out for you." "But you don't, I'm not..." Marcus couldn't find the words. "Why would you want me?" "Why wouldn't we?" "Because nobody does." The words tumbled out before Marcus could stop them. "Nobody ever does. Every family I've ever been placed with gave me back within a month. Every social worker said the same thing. I'm too difficult, too angry, too damaged. The Hendersons didn't even wait for me to show up before they found someone else." "The Hendersons are idiots," Viper said flatly. "Victor," Rosa murmured. "What they are. Any family that gives up on a kid because he's a few minutes late doesn't deserve him in the first place." Viper turned back to Marcus. "You want to know why we want you? Because you threw yourself at 3 men twice your size to save a little girl. Because you gave up everything you wanted so Lily could have a chance. Because when Doc asked if that cut was the worst thing that ever happened to you, you said you'd had worse and you meant it." Marcus's hands were shaking. "That doesn't make me special. That just makes me stupid." "No." Viper's voice dropped. "That makes you family." What? Lily appeared in the doorway. "Did you ask him yet?" "We're asking him now," Rosa said. "What did he say?" "He hasn't answered yet." Lily crossed the room and stood directly in front of Marcus. Her pink pajamas made her look younger than 6, but her eyes were older than they should be. She'd seen something today that no child should ever see, and she was still standing. "Do you want to be my brother?" she asked. Marcus blinked. "What?" "If you stay, you'd be my brother. Right, Daddy?" Viper nodded slowly. "That's the idea." "So do you want to?" Lily pressed. "I've never had a brother before, but I think you'd be good at it." "Why?" "Because you came back for me." She said it like it was the most obvious thing in the world. Brothers are supposed to protect each other, and you already did that. So you're basically already my brother. You just have to make it official." Marcus looked at this little girl who'd been kidnapped that morning, who'd watched him get beaten, who'd been dragged away, screaming his name. She was offering him a family. "I don't know how to be a brother," he said. "I already told you." Lily smiled. "I'll teach you." Shib. That night, Marcus slept in a bed for the first time in 2 years. Rosa had made it up with fresh sheets that smelled like flowers. There were pillows, 2 of them, and a blanket so thick and soft that Marcus spent 10 minutes just running his hands over it. "Is everything okay?" Rosa asked from the doorway. "It's too much." What is this? Marcus gestured at the bed, the room, everything. I don't deserve this. Rosa walked over and sat on the edge of the bed. Marcus, listened to me very carefully. What you deserve and what you've received are two very different things. The world hasn't treated you fairly. It hasn't given you what you deserve. But that's not your fault. She brushed the hair back from his forehead, careful of the stitches. You deserve kindness. You deserve safety. You deserve to sleep in a warm bed without worrying about what tomorrow will bring. How do you know? Because you're a child. Because all children deserve those things. Her voice softened. Her voice. And because you saved my daughter when you had every reason to walk away. Marcus's eyes filled with tears. He blinked them back, but Rosa saw. It's okay to cry, Marcus. It's okay to feel things. You've been holding everything inside for so long. You can let go now. The dam broke. 2 years of fear. 2 years of loneliness. 2 years of hunger and cold, and pretending he was okay when he was dying inside. It all came pouring out in great heaving sobs. Rosa held him. She didn't say anything. She just held him while he cried, rubbing his back, letting him shake apart in her arms. When the sobs finally subsided, Marcus pulled back, embarrassed. Sorry. What did I tell you about apologizing? Don't do it. That's right. Rosa kissed his forehead. Get some sleep. We have a lot to figure out tomorrow. Marcus lay down. The pillow was soft. The blanket was warm. Rosa. Yes. What if I mess this up? What if I'm too damaged to be part of a family? Rosa smiled sadly. Marcus, we're all damaged. That's what family is for, helping each other heal. She turned off the light and closed the door. Marcus stared at the ceiling in the darkness, listening to the unfamiliar sounds of a house settling around him. No sirens, no distant arguments, no rats scratching in the walls, just quiet. He fell asleep, trying to remember the last time he'd felt this safe, and he couldn't. Morning came too soon. Marcus woke to sunlight and the smell of bacon, and for a moment he forgot where he was. He shot upright, heart-pounding hands, already reaching for the backpack that wasn't there. Then he remembered. You're okay. He said it out loud, forcing his heart to slow. You're okay. You're safe. The words felt foreign in his mouth. He found his way to the kitchen where chaos was unfolding. Rosa stood at the stove flipping pancakes. Lily sat at the table drawing on a piece of paper with intense concentration. And Viper was arguing with someone. I don't care what the lawyer says, he's staying. Victor, I'm just telling you what she told me. The other man, tall, thin, with a worried expression, held up his hands. Legally, you can't just keep a kid. There are processes, background checks, home studies. The state has to approve, then they'll approve. It's not that simple. Then make it simple. Viper's voice dropped to a growl. Find me someone who can make this happen, today. The thin man sighed. I'll make some calls. Good. Viper noticed Marcus standing in the doorway. Morning, kid. How'd you sleep? Good. Marcus hesitated. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. You were yelling. Viper and Rosa exchanged a look. Sit down, Marcus, Rosa said. Have some breakfast. We need to talk. Marcus ate his pancakes while the adults explained. The short version, keeping Marcus, wasn't as simple as saying, you're family now. There were legal complications. Social services had to be involved. Marcus was technically a ward of the state, which meant someone would have to petition for custody. How long does that take? Marcus asked. Weeks. The thin man named Pete apparently said. Maybe months. Marcus's stomach dropped. So what happens to me in the meantime? That's what we're trying to figure out, Viper said. They could put me back in the group home. Over my dead body. Victor, I mean it. Viper slammed his hand on the table. I don't care what forms need to be signed or what bureaucrats need to be satisfied. That kid saved my daughter's life. He's not going back to some place where they'll look right through him like he doesn't exist. Then we need to do this right, Rosa said firmly. If we try to keep him without going through proper channels, they could take him away permanently. Is that what you want? Viper went quiet. We need to be smart about this, Rosa continued. Pete, what's the fastest path to legal custody? Emergency foster placement, Pete said. If we can demonstrate that Marcus has no viable alternatives and that you're willing to provide a safe home, we might be able to fast-track the process. Do it. It still won't be immediate. There'll be interviews, home inspections. Then start today. Pete nodded and pulled out his phone. Marcus watched all of this unfold, trying to process what was happening. These people, strangers, really people he'd known for less than 24 hours, were fighting for him. Fighting for him. Why? The word came out before he could stop it. Everyone turned to look at him. Why are you doing all this? You don't owe me anything. Viper sat down across from him. Marcus, let me tell you something about my life. 30 years ago, I was where you are. Different circumstances, same story. Nobody wanted me. Nobody cared if I lived or died. I slept in cars, stole food, did whatever I had to do to survive. He leaned forward. You know what saved me? One person. One person who looked at me and saw something worth keeping. That's all it took. One person. Who? A man named Iron Jack, founder of the Steel Wolves. He found me bleeding behind a bar after a deal gone wrong. I was 17, stupid and dying. He could have left me there. Most people would have. Viper's voice softened. Instead, he took me in, taught me what it meant to have brothers, gave me a reason to live. What happened to him? Died 12 years ago. Liver cancer. Viper's jaw tightened. But before he died, he made me promise something. He said, Viper, the world is full of invisible kids. Kids like you were. Kids who need one person to see them. He made me promise that if I ever found one of those kids, I'd do for them what he did for me. Marcus's eyes were burning. You're that kid, Marcus. You're the one I promised to find. Viper reached across the table and gripped his shoulder. So when you ask why we're doing this, that's your answer. Because someone did it for me, and because you're worth it. The next few days were a blur of interviews and paperwork. Social workers came to the house. They asked Marcus questions about his mother, about the group home, about his life on the streets. They asked him if he felt safe with the Rains family. They asked him if anyone had hurt him or threatened him. Marcus answered every question honestly. Yes, he felt safe. No, nobody had hurt him. Yes, he wanted to stay. Yes, he understood what that meant. The social workers wrote things down and exchanged looks that Marcus couldn't read. They're going to say no, he told Lily one afternoon. I can tell by the way they look at me. How do they look at you? Like I'm a problem, like I'm too much trouble. Lily considered this. Maybe they're just constipated. Marcus snorted. What? My teacher looks like that sometimes. Mommy says it's because she's constipated. Despite everything, Marcus laughed. It was a rusty sound like a door that hadn't been opened in years, but it was real. Thanks, Lily. For what? For making me laugh. Lily grinned. That's what sisters are for. Shehem. The call came on a Thursday afternoon. Marcus was in the backyard with Lily teaching her how to throw a proper punch, something he'd learned the hard way on the streets when Rosa came outside with tears streaming down her face. Marcus's heart stopped. What happened? Rosa couldn't speak. She just held out her arms. Marcus went to her confused, terrified, and she wrapped him in a hug so tight he couldn't breathe. They approved it, she whispered. Emergency foster placement. You can stay. For a moment, Marcus didn't understand the words. I can stay. You can stay, baby. You're staying. Lily screamed and jumped on both of them, nearly knocking them all to the ground. You're my brother now. You're really my brother. Marcus stood there, caught between Rosa and Lily, unable to move, unable to think, unable to do anything except feel the reality of what was happening wash over him. He could stay. Someone wanted him. For the first time in 2 years, maybe for the first time in his life, Marcus Webb belonged somewhere. Viper found him an hour later sitting alone behind the garage. Hey kid, You okay? Marcus nodded, then shook his head, then shrugged. I don't know. Viper sat down beside him. Talk to me. I'm scared. Of what? Of this being real. Marcus picked at a loose thread on his jeans. Every time something good has happened to me, it gets taken away. Every single time. And this is the best thing that's ever happened. Which means when it goes wrong, it's going to be the worst. Viper was quiet for a long moment. You know what Iron Jack told me once? What? He said fear is a liar. It tells you that good things can't last, that you don't deserve happiness, that it's safer to never have anything than to have something and lose it. Viper turned to look at Marcus. But here's the truth, kid. The only way to beat fear is to do the thing it tells you not to do. Trust anyway, love anyway, hope anyway, even when it hurts, especially when it hurts. What if I can't? Then we'll teach you. Viper stood and offered Marcus his hand. That's what family is for. Marcus took his hand, and for the first time in his life, he let himself believe that maybe, just maybe, this was real. 3 weeks changed everything and nothing. Marcus had a bed now. He had meals that appeared at regular times, clothes that fit shoes without holes. He had Rosa braiding his hair in the mornings and Viper teaching him to change oil in the garage. He had Lily following him everywhere, asking questions he didn't know how to answer. But he still woke up at 3 a.m. with his heart pounding. He still flinched when someone moved too fast. He still hid food under his mattress just in case. You don't have to do that, Rosa told him one morning, pulling a stale sandwich from between his sheets. The food isn't going anywhere, Marcus. I know. Then why? Marcus didn't have an answer. How could he explain that 2 years of hunger didn't disappear because someone said, "You're safe now"? How could he explain that every good thing in his life had been temporary and his body was still waiting for this one to end? Rosa sat on the edge of his bed. When Victor first brought me to meet the club, she said, I was terrified. These huge men in leather covered in tattoos looking at me like they were deciding whether to eat me or adopt me, she smiled. You know what Victor told me? Marcus shook his head. He said, Rosa, these men would die for the people they love. And once they love you, they never stop. And he was right. 20 years later, and Bear still calls me every Sunday to make sure I'm eating enough. What does that have to do with hiding food? It means you're part of something now, Marcus. Something that doesn't break. Something that doesn't disappear. She touched his face. It's going to take time for your heart to believe what your head already knows, and that's okay. We're not going anywhere. Marcus wanted to believe her. He was still learning how. School was harder. Viper had enrolled him at Jefferson Elementary, the same school Lily attended. Marcus hadn't been in a classroom since first grade, and the gap showed. What's 12 times 8? Mrs. Patterson asked on his first day. Marcus froze. The other kids stared. It's okay, Mrs. Patterson said gently. Take your time. But the damage was already done. The whispers started before lunch. He doesn't know anything. I heard he lived on the streets. My mom said he's the kid who got those men arrested, the ones who took that biker's daughter. Marcus kept his head down and tried to disappear. But disappearing was harder when everyone was already watching. Hey, street rat! The voice came from behind him on the playground. Marcus turned to find a kid twice his size standing there with 3 friends. The boy's name was Derek, and he had the look of someone who'd never been told no in his life. I'm talking to you. You deaf or just stupid? I'm not deaf. So stupid then. Derek stepped closer. My dad says you're trash. Says the bikers should have left you in the gutter where they found you. Marcus's hands curled into fists. Walk away, he said quietly. While you still can. Derek laughed. You threatening me? You're half my size. And I've fought people twice yours. Something in Marcus's voice made Derek hesitate, but his friends were watching, and pride was a powerful drug. You're dead, street rat. Derek swung. Marcus ducked. 2 years of dodging angry adults and territorial homeless men had given him reflexes that no 4th grader could match. He came up inside Derek's guard and drove his fist into the bigger boy's stomach. Derek folded. His friends rushed forward and Marcus became something else entirely. He wasn't an 8-year-old anymore. He was survival incarnate, moving on instinct, ducking and weaving and striking with precision that had been beaten into him by the streets. When the teachers finally pulled them apart, all 3 of Derek's friends were on the ground, and Marcus didn't have a scratch. "Principal's office," Mrs. Patterson said, her voice shaking. "Now." Viper arrived 40 minutes later. Marcus sat outside the principal's office, watching through the window as the adults argued. Derek's father was there too, a man in an expensive suit who kept pointing at Marcus and shaking his head. The door opened. "Marcus," Viper's voice was calm. Too calm. "Let's go." They walked to the parking lot in silence. Viper's motorcycle gleamed in the afternoon sun, but instead of getting on, he leaned against it and crossed his arms. "Tell me what happened." Marcus told him. Every word Derek had said, every punch Marcus had thrown, every moment of the fight that had lasted maybe 30 seconds, but felt like 30 years. When he finished, Viper was quiet for a long moment. "Did you start it?" "No." "Did you try to walk away?" "Yes." "Did you have a choice?" Marcus hesitated. "I could have let him hit me. I could have just taken it." "And why didn't you?" "Because I'm not that kid anymore." The words came out fierce. "I'm not the kid who gets pushed around. I'm not the kid who lets people treat him like garbage. I spent 2 years being invisible, being nothing. I'm done being nothing." Viper's expression shifted. Not anger. Something else. Something that looked almost like pride. "The school is suspending you for 3 days. Marcus's heart sank. "I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I know." "Marcus." Viper held up a hand. "I'm not angry at you. You defended yourself against a bully who attacked you first. That's not messing up. That's survival." "Then why did they suspend me?" "Because that kid's father donates a lot of money to the school, and he doesn't like being told his son got beat up by a homeless orphan." Viper's jaw tightened. His words, not mine. Marcus looked at the ground. "This is never going to stop, is it? No matter what I do, people are always going to see me as the street kid, the trash nobody wanted." Viper was quiet for a moment. Then he climbed onto his motorcycle and patted the seat behind him. "Get on." "Where are we going?" "To show you something." They rode for 20 minutes before stopping at a cemetery. Marcus followed Viper through rows of headstones until they reached one near the back. Simple. Gray. The name carved into it, Jack Iron Morrison. "This is him," Viper said. "The man who saved my life." Marcus looked at the grave, then at Viper. "You brought me here to show me a dead guy." "I brought you here to show you a truth." Viper knelt beside the headstone. "When Iron Jack found me, I was worse than you. I'd killed a man in a drug deal gone wrong. 17 years old with blood on my hands and nowhere to go." Marcus stared. "You killed someone." "I did, and I spent every day after that believing I was garbage, believing I didn't deserve to breathe." Viper's voice dropped. Iron Jack saw something different. He saw a kid who'd made one terrible choice in a life full of terrible options. He saw potential. He saw someone worth saving. What did he do? He gave me a purpose. Viper stood and faced Marcus. He said, "Viper, the world decided who you were before you were old enough to choose for yourself. But you get to decide who you become. Every day, every choice. You get to decide." Marcus's throat tightened. "That kid at school," Viper continued, "and his father and everyone else who looks at you and sees trash. They don't get to decide who you are. They don't get to define your worth. Only you get to do that." He gripped Marcus's shoulders. "So who are you going to be, Marcus Webb? Are you going to be the kid they see? Or are you going to be something more?" The wind picked up, stirring the grass around Iron Jack's grave. "I don't know," Marcus admitted. "I don't know who I'm supposed to be." "That's okay. Neither did I at your age." Viper smiled, a rare sight. "But you've got time to figure it out. And you've got people who will help you. That's more than most people ever get." Marcus looked at the headstone one more time. "Do you think he'd be proud of you, Iron Jack?" Viper was quiet for a long moment. "I hope so." Every day, I hope so. The suspension ended, but the trouble didn't. 3 days after Marcus returned to school, Rosa got a phone call that turned her face white. "Victor." Her voice shook. "Victor, come here." Marcus watched from the doorway as Viper took the phone, listened, and then went very, very still. When? A pause. Where? Another pause. "I understand. We'll handle it." He hung up and turned to Rosa with eyes that had gone cold. "Take the kids to Bear's place, now." "Victor, what?" "The men who took Lily. The ones we dealt with." His voice was ice. "They had friends, and those friends just got out of county lockup." Marcus felt the blood drain from his face. "They're looking for us," Viper continued. "Looking for the people who took down their operation. Someone talked. Someone gave them our address." "Oh, God!" Rosa grabbed Lily, who had appeared at the bottom of the stairs. "Oh, God, Victor!" "Go, now. Bear knows what to do." Rosa didn't argue. She grabbed her keys, grabbed Lily, grabbed Marcus by the arm. "Wait!" Marcus pulled free. "I want to stay." "Absolutely not." Rosa's voice was fierce. "You're a child. You're coming with me. They're coming because of what I did. Because I stopped them from taking Lily. This is my fight, too." "Marcus." "She's right." Viper's voice cut through the argument. "You're going with Rosa. This isn't negotiable." "But I said no." Viper knelt in front of him. "Listen to me, Marcus. There are going to be times in your life when you have to fight. Today is not one of them. Today your job is to keep Lily safe. Can you do that?" Marcus wanted to argue. Every instinct screamed at him to stay, to prove himself, to show that he wasn't just some kid who needed protecting. But Lily was watching him with wide, terrified eyes. "Yeah," he said finally. "I can do that." "Good." Viper stood. "Rosa, go. We'll handle this." Bear's place was a fortress. The big man met them at the door with a shotgun in one hand and a phone in the other. "Inside, all of you, now." Marcus followed Rosa and Lily into the house, which was already filling with bikers. Women and children from other families arrived in waves, escorted by club members, who looked ready to kill anything that moved. "What's happening?" Lily whispered, clutching Marcus's hand. "Why is everyone scared?" "Bad people are trying to hurt us," Marcus said, "but your dad won't let them." "How do you know?" "Because wolves protect their pack." Lily nodded slowly, accepting this. Marcus wished he could accept it too. Hours passed. The sun went down. More bikers arrived. Someone brought food, but nobody ate. At 11 o'clock, Rosa's phone rang. She answered, listened, and then collapsed against the wall, tears streaming down her face. "It's over," she breathed. "Victor says it's over." Viper came home at 3 in the morning. He had blood on his jacket and a cut above his eye, but he was walking and talking, and that was all Rosa needed. She threw herself into his arms and held on like she was afraid he'd disappear. "It's done," he said. "They won't bother us again." "What happened?" "They came to the house, 8 of them. Thought they'd find us sleeping." A cold smile crossed his face. "They found 30 steel wolves instead." Marcus felt sick. "Did you... Are they... They're alive, mostly. The ones who aren't in the hospital are in police custody." Viper looked at Marcus. "2 of them recognized you. From that day behind the trailer park. They specifically asked about the kid who started all this." Marcus's blood ran cold. "What did you tell them?" "I told them if they ever spoke your name again, I'd personally make sure they couldn't speak at all." Viper's expression softened. "You're protected, Marcus. By me. By the club. By everyone who wears these colors. Nobody is going to hurt you. Not ever. Because I saved Lily. No." Viper shook his head. "Because you're family." The next morning, the club gathered. 50 men assembled in Bear's backyard, their motorcycles gleaming in the early light. Rosa stood with Lily and Marcus near the back, watching, as Viper walked to the center of the group. "Brothers," he began, "last night we faced a threat, an attack on our homes, our families, our way of life, and we answered that threat the way we always answer threats, together." The men nodded. "But that's not why I called you here today." Viper turned and looked directly at Marcus. 3 weeks ago, a boy I'd never met threw himself at 3 armed men to protect my daughter. He was 8 years old. He weighed maybe 60 pounds. And he fought like a warrior. Marcus's face burned. That boy gave up everything he had, his only chance at a normal life, a family, a future, to save a little girl he'd met once. And when those same men sent their friends to take revenge, that boy stood up and asked to fight alongside us. Viper's voice rang out across the yard. "That boy has more courage than men 3 times his age. And today I'm asking this club to recognize it." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I'm asking for a vote to make Marcus Webb an honorary member of the Steel Wolves, to give him our protection not just as family but as brother." Silence fell. Then Bear stepped forward. "I vote yes." Another man stepped up. "Yes." Then another. "Yes." One by one, every single member of the Steel Wolves stepped forward and voted yes. When it was done, Viper beckoned Marcus to the center of the circle. "Marcus Webb." His voice was formal, now ceremonial. "Do you accept the brotherhood and protection of the Steel Wolves?" Marcus looked around at the faces surrounding him. Men who'd killed to protect their families. Men who'd ridden through the night to answer a threat. Men who were now offering him something he'd never had. A place, a purpose, a home. "Yes," he said. "I accept." Viper reached into his jacket and pulled out something Marcus hadn't seen before. A small leather vest, child-sized. On the back, the Steel Wolves patch. Below it, in fresh stitching, "Little Wolf." "Welcome to the pack, brother." Marcus took the vest with shaking hands. The leather was soft and worn, like it had been someone else's once, like it had history. "This was mine," Viper said quietly, "when I was your age. Iron Jack gave it to me. Now, I'm giving it to you." The weight of that gift settled on Marcus's shoulders. Not just the vest, but everything it represented. Generations of men who'd looked out for each other, who'd fought for each other, who'd died for each other. "I won't let you down," Marcus whispered. "I know you won't." Viper pulled him into a hug, rough and brief but real. "I've known it since the moment I saw you standing over my daughter, bleeding and half dead and still ready to fight." The club erupted in cheers. Men Marcus barely knew pounded his back, ruffled his hair, called him Little Wolf, like it was his real name now. And maybe it was. That night, Lily found him on the back porch. He was wearing the vest, running his fingers over the patches, still trying to believe it was real. "You look cool," she said, sitting down beside him. "You think, yeah, like a real biker." She paused. "When I grow up, I'm going to get a vest too." "Girls can't be bikers." "Says who?" Marcus thought about it. "I don't actually know." "Exactly." Lily pulled her knees up to her chest. "Marcus. Yeah. Thank you." "For what?" "For saving me. That day behind the trailer park." She turned to look at him, her brown eyes serious. "I never said thank you. I was too scared. But I'm not scared anymore. So thank you." Marcus's throat tightened. "You gave me your sandwich. That was just a sandwich." "No." He shook his head. "It was the first time anyone had been nice to me in 2 years. It mattered more than you know." Lily was quiet for a moment. "So we saved each other," she finally said. "I gave you a sandwich and you saved my life. And now we're family." She grinned. "That's a pretty good trade." Marcus laughed. Really laughed, the kind that came from somewhere deep inside. "Yeah," he agreed. "That's a pretty good trade." A week later, everything changed again. Marcus was in the garage with Viper learning how to adjust brake pads when Rosa came out with the phone pressed to her chest. "Victor?" One word, but the way she said it made both of them stop. "What is it?" "It's the adoption agency." Rosa's voice trembled. They want to meet with us. About Marcus. Viper straightened. What about him? They found someone. Rosa's eyes filled with tears. Marcus's grandmother, his mother's mother. She's alive, Victor. She's been looking for him for 2 years. The wrench slipped from Marcus's fingers. Grandmother, his mother's mother. The woman he'd been told was dead. That's impossible, he heard himself say. They told me she died. The social worker said they were wrong. Rosa crossed to him and knelt down. Marcus, she's been searching for you since the day you disappeared from that group home. She hired private investigators. She filed missing person reports. She never stopped looking. Marcus couldn't breathe. She wants to see me. She wants to take you home. Rosa's voice broke. To Indiana, where she lives. The words hit Marcus like a physical blow. Take you home, away from the steel wolves, away from Viper and Rosa and Bear and Doc, away from Lily. No, the word came out before he could stop it. No, I'm not going. Marcus, this is my home. You're my family. I don't care about some grandmother I've never met. I'm not leaving. Viper stepped forward. Marcus, listen to me. No. Marcus was shaking now, tears streaming down his face. You promised. You said I was family. You said you'd never let anyone take me. You promised. I know what I said. Viper's voice was gentle. And I meant every word. But this is your blood, Marcus. Your actual grandmother. She has rights. I don't care about her rights. I care about staying here. Rosa pulled him into her arms. We're not going to let them take you, she whispered. Not without a fight. I swear to you, Marcus. We will fight this with everything we have. But even as she said it, Marcus heard the doubt in her voice, and he knew that some battles couldn't be won with fists. The meeting was scheduled for the following Tuesday. Marcus spent the days leading up to it in a state of numb terror. He went through the motions, eating, sleeping, going to school, but none of it felt real. His body was present, but his mind was somewhere else, trapped in a loop of worst-case scenarios. You're going to be okay, Lily told him the night before. Daddy won't let them take you. What if he can't stop them? Then I'll stop them. Her jaw set with determination. I'll bite them if I have to. Marcus almost smiled. You can't bite your way out of everything, Lily. Watch me. The next morning, Marcus put on his best clothes, the ones Rosa had bought him for school pictures, and climbed into the car without speaking. The drive to the agency felt like a march to his own execution. When they arrived, a woman was already waiting in the lobby. She was small and gray-haired with glasses perched on her nose and hands that wouldn't stop twisting together. She looked nothing like Marcus's mother. She looked nothing like Marcus at all. But when she saw him, she gasped. Marcus. Her voice broke on his name. Oh, Marcus, you look just like her. You look just like my Annie. Marcus stood frozen. You're her, he said. You're my grandmother. Yes, baby, I'm your grandma. Tears streamed down her face. I've been looking for you for so long. So long. She moved toward him, arms outstretched. Marcus stepped back. The woman froze, hurt, flashing across her features. Marcus, Rosa said gently. It's okay. You can talk to her. I don't want to talk to her. His voice came out harder than he intended. I don't even know her. That's why we're here, the social worker interjected. To help you get to know each other. Your grandmother has come a long way. I didn't ask her to come. Marcus, Viper's voice was low. Let's hear what she has to say. The grandmother, Eleanor, her name was Eleanor, wiped her eyes. I know you're angry, she said. I know you don't understand, but please, Marcus, please let me explain. Marcus stared at this stranger who claimed to be family, and despite everything inside him screaming to run, he nodded. Fine, explain. Eleanor's story came out in fragments. She'd been estranged from Marcus's mother for years, a falling out over Marcus's father, who Eleanor had warned her daughter about. By the time she learned her daughter had died, Marcus had already disappeared from the group home. "I tried everything," she said, her voice shaking. "I hired investigators. I filed reports. I called every agency in 3 states, but you'd vanished. It was like you'd never existed." "I was on the streets," Marcus said flatly. "For 2 years, hiding, surviving." Eleanor flinched. I'm so sorry I couldn't find you sooner. Why should I believe you?" The words came out sharp. "Why should I believe any of this? My mom never talked about you, never mentioned you once. If you cared so much, why weren't you there when she died?" Eleanor's face crumpled. "Because I was a fool. Because I let pride keep me away from my daughter when she needed me most. Because I thought I was protecting her, and instead I lost her." She reached for Marcus's hand. "I've made mistakes, Marcus. Terrible mistakes. But I'm here now, and I want to make it right." Marcus looked at her hand, but didn't take it. "I already have a family." "I know, and I'm grateful to them. More grateful than you'll ever know." Eleanor glanced at Viper and Rosa. "But I'm your grandmother, your blood, and I want to be part of your life." The social worker leaned forward. "Marcus, no one is going to force you to do anything you don't want to do. But your grandmother has legal standing. She's filed for custody." The word hit Marcus like a punch to the gut. Custody. She wasn't just here to visit. She was here to take him away. The word echoed in Marcus's skull like a gunshot. Custody. She wanted custody. This stranger, this woman who'd abandoned his mother, who'd disappeared for years, who'd let him rot on the streets while she searched, she wanted to take him away from everything he'd built. "No." The word came out quiet. Too quiet. "Marcus," the social worker began, "I understand this is difficult." "No." Louder now. "I said no. She doesn't get to show up after 2 years and pretend like she cares. She doesn't get to take me away from my family." "I am your family," Eleanor said, her voice breaking. "I'm your grandmother. Your blood." "Blood?" Marcus laughed, and it was an ugly sound. "Blood didn't keep me warm when I was sleeping behind dumpsters. Blood didn't feed me when I was starving. Blood didn't hold me when I cried myself to sleep every single night." Eleanor flinched like he'd hit her. "These people did." Marcus pointed at Viper and Rosa. "They found me. They saved me. They made me part of something." "Where were you when all that was happening? Where were you when I needed someone, anyone to care if I lived or died?" "I was looking for you." Tears streamed down Eleanor's face. "Every single day. I swear to God, Marcus, I never stopped looking." "Then you didn't look hard enough." The silence that followed was absolute. Rosa reached for Marcus's hand, but he pulled away. He couldn't be touched right now. If anyone touched him, he would shatter. "I need some air." He was out the door before anyone could stop him. Done. Viper found him 20 minutes later, sitting on the curb outside the agency. That was rough. Marcus didn't look up. "I don't want to talk about it." "Okay." Viper sat down beside him. "Then I'll talk. You listen." Marcus said nothing. "When Iron Jack found me, I hated everyone. My parents. The system. God. Anyone who'd ever had a chance to help me and didn't." Viper's voice was steady. "I carried that hate for years. Let it poison everything good that came my way. You know what finally made it stop? What? Forgiveness." Viper let the word hang in the air. "Not for them. For me. I realized that holding on to all that anger was like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. I'm not angry. Kid, you're angrier than anyone I've ever met, and you have every right to be." Viper turned to face him. "But that woman in there, she's not your enemy. She's a broken old lady who lost her daughter and her grandson and spent 2 years trying to find what was left of her family. She could be lying. She's not." Viper pulled something from his pocket, a folded piece of paper. "Rosa got this from the social worker. It's a summary of Eleanor's case file. Private investigators in 3 states. Missing person reports filed every month for 2 years. Phone calls to every homeless shelter within 200 miles of where you disappeared. Marcus stared at the paper. She spent her retirement savings looking for you, Marcus. Every penny she had. She's broke now, living on Social Security in a one-bedroom apartment. And the first thing she did when she found you was scrape together enough money for a bus ticket to California. The anger that had been burning in Marcus's chest flickered. That doesn't change anything. Maybe not, but it changes how you should feel about it. Viper stood and offered Marcus his hand. Come on, let's go back inside and figure this out like adults. Marcus didn't take his hand. What if she takes me away from you? Then we'll fight it, every step of the way. Viper's voice hardened. But Marcus, you need to understand something. If she really is your grandmother, if she really has been looking for you this whole time, then she deserves a chance. Not because the law says so, because it's the right thing to do. Marcus looked up at him. What if doing the right thing means losing everything? Then you do it anyway. Viper finally grabbed his hand and pulled him to his feet. That's what wolves do. We face the hard things, even when it hurts. Jeb. They went back inside. Eleanor was still there, her face red and swollen from crying. Rosa sat beside her, speaking in low tones, her hand on the older woman's arm. Marcus watched them for a moment, these two women strangers, until today, connected by nothing except their love for him. I'm sorry. The words surprised him. He hadn't planned to say them. Eleanor looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. I'm sorry I yelled at you, Marcus continued. I was scared. I'm still scared. But Viper says you've been looking for me for a long time. And if that's true, then... He swallowed hard. Then I shouldn't have said what I said. Oh, baby. Eleanor stood, her hands reaching for him, but not quite touching. You don't have to apologize. You were right. I wasn't there when you needed me. I failed your mother, and I failed you. Why weren't you there? The question hung in the air. Eleanor closed her eyes. Your mother and I had a falling out when she was 20. She'd started dating your father, and I... She paused, pain crossing her features. I said terrible things. Things I can never take back. I told her that if she stayed with him, she was dead to me. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. She stayed with him. Yes. And I kept my word. I cut her off. Completely. For 5 years I didn't speak to my own daughter. Eleanor's voice cracked. And then she died. And I never got to tell her I was sorry. I never got to tell her I was wrong. I never got to hold her again. The coldness spread through Marcus's chest. Why are you telling me this? Because you deserve to know the truth. All of it. Eleanor finally looked at him, her eyes raw with grief. I failed Annie. I won't fail you. Whatever you decide, whatever happens, I want you to know that I will spend the rest of my life trying to make up for what I did. Marcus stared at this woman, his grandmother, his mother's mother, and saw something he recognized. Guilt. The same guilt he carried every time he remembered the adoption meeting he'd missed. The same guilt that woke him up at night, whispering that he didn't deserve the good things that had happened to him. I have a question, he said. Anything. Do you actually want me, or do you just feel guilty about my mom? Eleanor's breath caught. Both, she admitted. I feel guilty every single day. But Marcus, I also want to know you, the real you, the boy my daughter raised before everything went wrong. She reached out and touched his face gently, like she was afraid he might break. You're all I have left of her, and I want to spend whatever time I have left making sure you know how much she loved you, how much I love you. Marcus's defenses crumbled. He didn't mean to cry. He'd spent 2 years teaching himself not to cry. But the tears came anyway, hot and unstoppable, and when Eleanor pulled him into her arms, he let her. The custody hearing was scheduled for 3 weeks later. Marcus spent those weeks in a state of constant anxiety. He went to school. He did his homework. He practiced fighting with Bear and learned motorcycle maintenance with Viper. But none of it felt real. Everything felt like it was happening underwater, muffled and distant. "You're thinking too much," Lily told him one night. "Your brain is going to explode." "That's not how brains work." "How do you know? Are you a brain scientist?" Marcus almost smiled. "No." "Then maybe it does work that way, and you just don't know it." She crawled onto his bed and sat cross-legged beside him. "What are you scared of?" "I'm not scared." "You're always scared. You just pretend you're not." Marcus looked at her, this 6-year-old girl who'd been kidnapped and nearly killed, and still somehow managed to see right through him. "I'm scared the judge will make me leave," he admitted. "I'm scared I'll have to go to Indiana with Eleanor. I'm scared I'll never see you again." "That's stupid." "Excuse me." "It's stupid," Lily repeated firmly. "You're my brother. Brothers don't stop being brothers just because they live in different places." "It's not that simple, Lily." "Yes, it is." She grabbed his hand and squeezed it. "I don't care what any judge says. You're my brother forever. And if they try to take you away, I'll find you. I'll steal Daddy's motorcycle and drive to Indiana and find you." "You don't know how to drive." "I'll learn." Despite everything, Marcus laughed. "You're crazy, you know that." "Mommy says I get it from Daddy." Lily grinned. "But that's okay. Crazy people are the best kind." The day of the hearing arrived like a death sentence. Marcus put on the suit Rosa had bought him, dark blue too tight in the shoulders, and stared at himself in the mirror. "You look handsome," Rosa said from the doorway. "I look like I'm going to a funeral." "Marcus." "It's fine. I'm fine." He adjusted his tie for the 100th time. "What happens if the judge says yes to Eleanor?" Rosa was quiet for a moment. "Then we'll appeal. We'll fight it in every court in this state if we have to." "And if we lose?" Rosa crossed the room and turned him to face her. "Then you'll go to Indiana. And you'll hate it at first, and you'll miss us every single day. But eventually you'll realize that Eleanor loves you too, that she's trying her best just like we are, and you'll find a way to make it work." "How can you be so calm about this?" "I'm not calm." Rosa's voice cracked. "I'm terrified. The thought of losing you feels like someone's ripping my heart out. But being a parent means putting your child's needs before your own feelings. And right now, you need me to be strong." Marcus hugged her. It was sudden and fierce and took them both by surprise. But Rosa held on like she was never letting go. "I don't want to leave," Marcus whispered. "I want to stay here. With you. With Viper. With Lily. This is my home now." "I know, baby. I know." "Then why does it have to be so hard?" Rosa pulled back and wiped the tears from his face. "Because the good things always are." The courthouse was cold and quiet. Marcus sat between Viper and Rosa, watching lawyers shuffle papers and whisper to each other. Eleanor sat across the aisle with her own lawyer, a tired-looking man who kept checking his watch. The judge was a woman in her 60s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "We're here today to determine custody of Marcus Webb," she began. "I've reviewed the case files from both parties. I've read the social worker's recommendations, and I've heard from the foster family currently caring for Marcus." She looked at Eleanor. "Mrs. Morrison, you've filed for custody based on your biological relationship to the child. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor." "And Mr. and Mrs. Raines, you're opposing this petition on the grounds that Marcus has been thriving in your care and wishes to remain with you. Is that correct?" "Yes, Your Honor," Viper said. The judge nodded slowly. "I've been doing this for 30 years. I've seen every kind of custody case you can imagine. But this one," she paused, "this one is different." Marcus's heart stopped. On one hand, we have a biological grandmother with a legitimate claim. Mrs. Morrison has demonstrated genuine effort to locate Marcus over the past 2 years. She has no criminal record, stable housing, and a clear desire to provide for her grandson. Eleanor straightened in her seat. On the other hand, we have a foster family that took in a homeless child, provided him with medical care, enrolled him in school, and by all accounts, has transformed his life in a matter of weeks. The judge looked at Marcus. And then there's what Marcus himself wants. The room went silent. Marcus, I'd like to hear from you directly. In your own words, tell me what you want. Marcus stood. His legs were shaking. Your Honor, He stopped, his throat tight. I spent 2 years on the streets, alone, hungry, scared. I learned that the only person I could rely on was myself. I learned that families were something other people had, not me. The judge listened without interrupting. Then I met Lily. She shared her sandwich with me. And when bad men tried to take her, I couldn't walk away. I couldn't let them hurt her. His voice cracked. I missed my foster appointment because I was trying to save her. I thought I'd lost everything, but instead I found everything. Tears were streaming down his face now, but he didn't care. The Rains family didn't adopt me because they had to. They adopted me because I saved their daughter. But that's not why I want to stay. He turned and looked at Viper, at Rosa, at Lily in the back row. I want to stay because they make me feel like I matter, like I'm worth something, like I'm not invisible anymore. He turned back to the judge. Eleanor is my grandmother, and maybe she loves me. Maybe she really did spend 2 years looking for me, but I don't know her. I don't feel safe with her. I feel safe here. He took a shaky breath. Please don't make me leave my family. The judge was quiet for a long moment, then she turned to Eleanor. Mrs. Morrison, do you have anything you'd like to say? Eleanor stood slowly. She looked older than she had 3 weeks ago, like the weight of this hearing had aged her decades in days. Your Honor, I came here to fight for my grandson. I was prepared to do whatever it took to bring him home. She paused. But sitting here listening to him speak, I realize I've been thinking about what I need, not what he needs. Marcus stared at her. I lost my daughter because I was too proud to admit I was wrong. I'm not going to make that mistake again. Eleanor's voice strengthened. Marcus has a family that loves him, a family that he chose and that chose him back. Who am I to destroy that? The judge leaned forward. Mrs. Morrison, are you withdrawing your custody petition? Eleanor looked at Marcus, really looked at him. And in her eyes he saw something that made his chest ache. Surrender, but also love. I'm withdrawing my petition, Your Honor, on one condition. The room held its breath. I want to be part of his life, not as his guardian, not as someone trying to take him away, just as his grandmother. Birthdays, holidays, phone calls, whatever he's willing to give me. Her voice broke. I've missed so much already. I don't want to miss any more. The judge turned to Marcus. Is that acceptable to you? Marcus looked at Eleanor. This woman who'd given up everything to find him and was now giving up her claim to keep him. Yeah, he said. That's acceptable. The gavel came down. Custody is awarded to Victor and Rosa Rains. This case is closed. The courtroom erupted. Rosa grabbed Marcus and held him so tight he couldn't breathe. Viper's hand landed on his shoulder, steady and warm. Lily broke through the crowd and launched herself at him, nearly knocking them all over. You're staying, she screamed. You're staying forever. Looks like it, Marcus managed. Through the chaos, he saw Eleanor standing alone, watching them, with tears in her eyes. He pulled away from his family and walked toward her. Hey yourself. She smiled, but it was fragile. Congratulations, Marcus. You deserve this. I'm sorry you came all this way for nothing. It wasn't for nothing. She reached out and touched his face. I got to meet you. I got to see the incredible young man my daughter raised. That's not nothing. That's everything. Marcus didn't know what to say. Can I? Eleanor hesitated. Can I hug you just once? He nodded. She pulled him into her arms, and for a moment Marcus let himself feel it, the warmth, the grief, the love that had survived years of separation and pain. Your mother would be so proud of you, Eleanor whispered. So proud. I miss her. Me too, baby. Every single day. When they finally pulled apart, both of them were crying. "I'll call you," Marcus said. "I promise." "I'd like that." Eleanor stepped back. "Take care of yourself, Marcus Webb, and take care of that family of yours." "I will." She walked away, her small figure disappearing through the courthouse doors. Marcus watched her go and felt something shift inside him. Not forgiveness, not yet, but the beginning of it. That night, the Steel Wolves threw a party. 50 bikers, their families, and what felt like half the city packed into Bear's backyard. Music blasted from speakers. Kids ran everywhere. The smell of barbecue filled the air. Marcus sat on the porch steps watching it all, still not quite believing it was real. "Hell of a day." Viper sat down beside him, a beer in one hand. "Yeah. How you feeling?" "Tired, confused, happy." Marcus shook his head. "I don't know. All of it at once. That's called being alive, kid." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Viper. "Yeah. Thank you. For everything. For finding me. For fighting for me. For not giving up when it would have been easier to let Eleanor take me." Viper was quiet for a long moment. "You know what Iron Jack told me the day he died?" "What?" "He said, Viper, the measure of a man isn't what he takes from the world. It's what he gives back." I never really understood what he meant until I met you." Marcus turned to look at him. "You gave me a reason to keep that promise I made," Viper continued. "The one about finding invisible kids and making them visible. You gave me a chance to be the man Iron Jack saw in me." His voice roughened. "So don't thank me, Marcus. Thank yourself. For being brave enough to stop that day. For being stubborn enough to fight. For being good enough to deserve a second chance." Marcus's throat tightened. "I don't feel brave." "The brave ones never do." Viper stood and ruffled his hair. "Come on. Rosa made cake. And if you don't get in there soon, Bear's going to eat all of it." Marcus laughed and followed him inside. The party lasted until midnight. By the time everyone left, Marcus was exhausted in a way he'd never experienced before, not the exhaustion of survival, but the exhaustion of joy. He lay in his bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sounds of the house settling around him. His house, his family, his home. There was a soft knock at the door. "Come in." Lily appeared already in her pajamas, clutching a stuffed wolf that Bear had given her. "Can't sleep," she announced. "Me neither." She climbed onto his bed and curled up beside him, her head on his shoulder. "Marcus." "Yeah. Are you happy?" He thought about the question. Really thought about it. 2 months ago, he'd been sleeping behind a dumpster, counting the hours until his next meal, convinced that he would die alone and forgotten. Now he had a bed, a family, a sister who refused to let him go. "Yeah," he said. "I think I am." "Good," Lily yawned, "because happy is the best thing to be." Within minutes, she was asleep. Marcus stayed awake a little longer, listening to her breathe, feeling her warmth against his side. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind. "Your mother would be so proud of you." "I hope so, Mom," he whispered into the darkness. "I really hope so." Then he closed his eyes and let sleep take him. For the first time in years, he didn't dream about running. He dreamed about staying. If you've ever had to choose between holding on to anger and letting yourself heal, comment forgiveness. Marcus just discovered that the hardest battles aren't fought with fists, they're fought with the heart. Subscribe now, because Marcus's journey isn't over. The boy who was invisible is about to become someone the whole world will see. 10 years passed like water through open fingers. Marcus grew. Not just taller, though he did that too, shooting up past Viper by the time he was 16, filling out with muscle from years of working in the garage and training with the club. But he grew in other ways, ways that couldn't be measured with rulers or scales. He grew into someone his mother would have recognized. The adoption was finalized 6 months after the custody hearing. Marcus Webb became Marcus Webb Rains, and the day he signed the papers, Viper cried for the first and only time Marcus had ever seen. These are happy tears, Viper had said, wiping his face with the back of his hand. Don't tell anyone. Your secret's safe with me. High school was hard at first. The kids who'd called him street rat in elementary school had long memories, and the rumors followed him through junior high and into 9th grade. But Marcus had learned something on the streets that no bully could take away. Survival wasn't about being the strongest. It was about being the one who refused to quit. He joined the wrestling team, made varsity by sophomore year. The same kids who'd mocked him started asking for his help with their homework. Why do you help them? Lily asked one afternoon. She was 14 now, fierce and beautiful, and still following Marcus everywhere. They were horrible to you. Because holding grudges is exhausting. Marcus handed her a sandwich, peanut butter and jelly cut into triangles. And because someone once showed me that a small kindness can change everything. Lily took the sandwich and smiled. You're getting soft in your old age. I'm 18. That's not old. It is to me. Marcus threw a pillow at her and she shrieked and ran, and for a moment they were just brother and sister, normal kids in a normal house. And that was the greatest miracle of all. Graduation came on a sunny afternoon in June. Marcus stood with his class wearing a cap and gown that still felt like a costume, listening to a valedictorian speech about following your dreams and making a difference. He thought about what he would say if he were up there. Dreams are for people who've never had to choose between eating and sleeping. Making a difference sounds nice until you realize the system is designed to crush people like us. But here's the thing, you can change the system. One person at a time, one choice at a time. You just have to be stubborn enough to keep fighting. Marcus Webb Raines. His name echoed across the football field. He walked across the stage, shook the principal's hand, and accepted his diploma. In the crowd, he could see Viper standing on his seat, whistling loud enough to drown out everyone else. Rosa was crying. Lily was holding up a sign that said, Little Wolf graduates. And in the back row, sitting alone, Eleanor waved. She'd come all the way from Indiana, took a bus for 18 hours just to watch her grandson walk across a stage. You came, Marcus said afterward, finding her in the crowd. I wouldn't miss it. She hugged him, and it felt natural now, not awkward like it had in the beginning. Your mother would be so proud. I know. What's next, college? Marcus nodded. Community college first, then transfer. I want to study social work. Eleanor's eyes widened. Social work? Yeah. I want to help kids like me, kids who fall through the cracks. He paused. I spent 2 years invisible. I don't want anyone else to feel that way. Eleanor's chin trembled. Annie would have loved that. She always said you had a good heart. I get it from her. They stood together, grandmother and grandson connected by grief and love and 10 years of slow healing. Thank you, Marcus said. For what? For letting go. For letting me stay with the Raines family. For not fighting when you had every right to fight. He took her hand. You gave me my life, Eleanor. I'll never forget that. Eleanor squeezed his hand. You gave me my grandson back. We're even. Community college turned into State University. State University turned into a master's degree in social work. And somewhere along the way, Marcus discovered something that changed everything. He wasn't the only invisible kid. There were thousands of them. Tens of thousands. Children sleeping on streets and shelters and cars. Children aging out of foster care with nowhere to go. Children like he'd been hungry, scared, forgotten. Someone has to do something, he told Viper one night. The system is broken. Kids are falling through the cracks every single day. Then fix it. It's not that simple. Why not? Marcus stared at him. Because I'm one person. I can't change the whole system by myself. Viper leaned back in his chair. When I found you behind that trailer park, you were one kid. One skinny, bleeding kid who just fought 3 grown men to save my daughter. He fixed Marcus with a stare that cut right through him. You changed our whole world that day. One person, one choice. Don't tell me you can't do it again. Marcus went quiet. What are you thinking? Rosa asked from the doorway. I'm thinking about Iron Jack, Marcus said slowly, about what he did for Viper, and what Viper did for me. And And what if that's the answer? What if instead of trying to fix the whole system, we just find the invisible kids one at a time? Give them what Iron Jack gave Viper, what Viper gave me. Rosa and Viper exchanged a look. What exactly are you proposing? Viper asked. Marcus took a deep breath. A program, a network. Motorcycle clubs partnering with child services to identify at-risk kids and mentor them. Not just money, actual relationships. Actual people showing up and refusing to let them fall through the cracks. The room went silent. Then Viper smiled. I know 50 men who would sign up for that tomorrow. I know 100 more, Rosa added. Marcus felt something ignite in his chest. Hope. Purpose. The same feeling he'd had the day he chased that van. The certainty that this was what he was meant to do. I'm going to call it Little Wolves, he said. After the name you gave me. Viper's eyes glistened. Iron Jack would have loved that. I know. Marcus stood up. Let's get to work. Dehan. The Little Wolves initiative launched on Marcus's 23rd birthday. It started small. 1 motorcycle club, 10 kids, a borrowed church basement for meetings. But word spread. Other clubs heard about what the Steel Wolves were doing. They reached out asking how they could help. Within a year, 12 clubs had joined. Within 2 years, 37. Marcus was everywhere at once, training volunteers, meeting with social workers, testifying before city councils about the homeless youth crisis. You're killing yourself, Lily told him one night. She was 21 now, a junior in college studying clinical psychology. You can't save everyone, Marcus. I can try. And what happens when you burn out? Who saves the kids then? Marcus didn't have an answer. Let me help, Lily said. Let me take some of this off your plate. You have school. School can wait. This can't. She grabbed his hands. You saved my life when I was 6 years old. Let me save yours now. Marcus looked at his sister, this fierce, stubborn woman, who'd grown up watching him fight and learning to fight beside him. Okay, he said, but you're not dropping out. I'll do both. That's insane. That's what wolves do. She grinned. We face the hard things. The program grew faster than anyone expected. By Marcus's 25th birthday, Little Wolves operated in 15 states. 312 kids had gone through the program. 94% finished high school. 67% went on to college or vocational training. But numbers didn't tell the whole story. Marcus remembered every single one of them. There was Jalen, a 15-year-old from Detroit who'd been sleeping in abandoned buildings for 2 years. A motorcycle club found him behind a laundromat, half-starved and covered in bruises. 2 years later, Jalen graduated at the top of his class and enrolled in engineering school. There was Maria, a 12-year-old from Phoenix, whose parents had kicked her out when she came out as gay. A club member named Torch took her in, gave her a safe place, and taught her that family wasn't about blood, it was about love. Maria was now 20, working as a peer counselor for LGBTQ youth in crisis. There was Damon, a 16-year-old from Atlanta who'd been trafficking drugs for a gang since he was 11. The Iron Titans pulled him out, gave him a second chance, and now Damon ran the Little Wolves chapter in Georgia, saving kids from the same life he'd escaped. Every name, every face, every story. Marcus carried them all. You're going to need a bigger heart, Rosa told him one evening. You keep collecting all these kids. I'm not collecting them. I'm just seeing them. Same difference. Rosa kissed his forehead. Your mother would be so proud of the man you've become. I hope so. I know so. The call came on a Tuesday morning. Marcus was in his office reviewing reports when his phone rang. The number was unfamiliar in Indiana area code. Hello. Is this Marcus Webb Rains? Yes. Who's this? A pause. Then a voice he didn't recognize. Mr. Webb Rains, I'm calling from Memorial Hospital in Fort Wayne. I have you listed as the emergency contact for Eleanor Morrison. Marcus's blood turned to ice. What happened? Your grandmother suffered a stroke early this morning. She's stable but in critical condition. I think you should come as soon as possible. The phone nearly slipped from Marcus's hands. I'm on my way. The flight took 4 hours. Marcus spent every minute of it staring out the window, replaying every conversation he'd ever had with Eleanor. The anger of their first meeting. The slow thaw over the years. The weekly phone calls that had become his anchor. She was 78 now. He'd known this day would come eventually, but knowing didn't make it easier. Viper and Rosa met him at the hospital. They'd flown out the moment they heard. "How is she?" Marcus demanded. "Stable," Rosa said. "But the doctors say it's serious." Marcus pushed through the doors and found Eleanor's room. She was lying in the bed, small and fragile tubes running everywhere. Her eyes were closed. "Eleanor," his voice cracked. "Eleanor, I'm here." Her eyes fluttered open. "Marcus." The word came out slurred, weak. "You came." "Of course I came." He took her hand. "I'll always come." Eleanor smiled, and despite everything, the tubes, the machines, the pale cast to her skin, she looked peaceful. "I'm so proud of you," she whispered. "So proud of everything you've done. Don't talk like that, you're going to be fine." "We both know that's not true." Her grip tightened on his hand. "But it's okay, Marcus. I'm ready. I've seen you grow into an incredible man. I've seen you save hundreds of children. I got to know my grandson." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "That's more than I ever hoped for. Eleanor, please. Promise me something." Marcus leaned closer. "Anything. Promise me you'll keep going, no matter what. Promise me you'll keep saving those invisible kids. Promise me you'll never stop seeing them." His tears fell onto their joined hands. "I promise." Eleanor closed her eyes. "Annie was right about you," she murmured. "She always said you'd change the world." "I haven't changed the world. Not yet." A ghost of a smile crossed her lips. "But you will." Her grip relaxed. Her breathing slowed. And Eleanor Morrison, the grandmother who'd spent 2 years searching for a grandson she'd never met, slipped away peacefully with her family by her side. The funeral was small. Eleanor had outlived most of her friends, and her only family was Marcus. But the Steel Wolves came anyway. 40 motorcycles escorted her casket to the cemetery, their engines a thundering tribute to the woman who'd given up everything so her grandson could have everything. Marcus stood at the grave, watching them lower her into the ground, feeling the weight of her loss settle into his bones. "She loved you," Rosa said, standing beside him. "More than anything." "I know. She never regretted letting you stay with us. She told me that once. She said it was the best decision she ever made." Marcus nodded, but couldn't speak. Lily took his hand. "She's with your mom now," she said softly. "They're together again." Marcus looked up at the sky where clouds were breaking apart to reveal blue. "Yeah," he said. "I think they are." Eleanor left Marcus everything she had. It wasn't much. A few $1,000s, some furniture, a box of old photographs. But in that box, Marcus found something that changed everything. Letters. Dozens of them. Letters his mother had written to Eleanor, over the years never sent. Letters full of apologies and explanations and love. Letters about Marcus, his first steps, his first words, the way he laughed when she tickled him. And at the bottom of the box, one final letter. It was addressed to Marcus. The handwriting was shaky. Eleanor must have written it recently. He opened it with trembling hands. "My dearest Marcus, if you're reading this, I'm gone. But before I go, I need you to know something. The day I gave up my custody claim was the hardest day of my life. I wanted you so badly. I wanted to hold my daughter's son and never let go. But I saw the way you looked at Viper and Rosa, the way you looked at Lily, the way they looked at you. I realized that love isn't about possession. It's about wanting someone else's happiness more than your own. You had a family, Marcus. A real family. And I wasn't going to take that away from you just because I was lonely. But here's the thing, I got more than I ever expected. I got 10 years of phone calls, 10 years of birthday cards, 10 years of watching you grow into the most incredible person I've ever known. You saved hundreds of children, Marcus. You gave them hope when they had none. You saw them when no one else did. That's your mother's legacy. That's mine too. Don't ever stop, Marcus. Don't ever stop seeing the invisible ones. They're waiting for someone like you. All my love forever, Eleanor. Marcus read the letter 3 times. Then he folded it carefully, placed it in his wallet, and made a decision that would change the course of his life. The National Youth Protection Conference was packed. 3,000 people filled the convention center: social workers, educators, politicians, nonprofit leaders. They'd all come to hear from the founder of Little Wolves, the man who'd built a movement from nothing. Marcus stood backstage, heart pounding, Eleanor's letter burning in his wallet. "You ready?" Lily asked. "No." "Good. That means you care." She straightened his tie. "Remember what Viper always says." "Which part?" "The part about fear being a liar." She kissed his cheek. "Now get out there and change the world." Marcus walked onto the stage. The applause was deafening. He looked out at the sea of faces, all these people who'd given up their time to be here to learn how to help kids like he'd been, and felt something shift inside him. 10 years ago, he began. I was invisible. The room went silent. I was 8 years old, homeless, hungry, and convinced that I was going to die behind a dumpster and nobody would notice. I had one chance to escape that life, one appointment with a foster family that might actually want me. He paused. I missed that appointment, because on the way there I saw 3 men kidnapping a little girl. And I couldn't walk away. I couldn't pretend I didn't see it, so I fought them, an 8-year-old against 3 grown men. I got beaten bloody. I lost my only chance at a family. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. But here's what I didn't know. That little girl's father was the president of a motorcycle club. And when he found out what I'd done, he didn't just thank me. He changed my entire life. Marcus's voice strengthened. Viper Reigns gave me something no one else ever had. He saw me. Not the homeless kid, not the street rat, not the problem to be solved. He saw Marcus, the boy who'd survived impossible things. The boy who'd risked everything to save a stranger. Tears shone in his eyes now. I'm standing here today because one person saw me. One person refused to let me stay invisible. And I'm asking every single one of you to do the same. The audience was riveted. There are millions of invisible children in this country right now, sleeping on streets, aging out of foster care, falling through cracks in systems that were supposed to protect them, and every single one of them is waiting for someone to see them. Marcus leaned into the microphone. You don't have to be a millionaire. You don't have to be a politician. You don't have to have all the answers. You just have to show up. You just have to care. You just have to look at a child the world has forgotten and say, I see you. You matter, and I'm not going to let you disappear. His voice rang across the hall. My grandmother spent 2 years searching for me. 2 years refusing to give up on a grandson she'd never met. Before she died, she made me promise to keep going, to keep saving the invisible kids, to keep seeing them when no one else would. He pulled the letter from his wallet and held it up. This is her final message to me, but I think it's meant for all of us. He read aloud. Don't ever stop. Don't ever stop seeing the invisible ones. They're waiting for someone like you. 3,000 people rose to their feet. The applause was thunder. The cheering was a roar. And Marcus stood there surrounded by the sound of people who believed in what he'd built and let himself feel something he'd spent a lifetime afraid to feel. Pride. Not the arrogant kind. The kind that comes from knowing you've done something that matters. The kind that comes from keeping a promise to everyone who ever believed in you. After the conference, Marcus found his family in the lobby. Viper gray-haired now, but still massive, still commanding. Rosa, softer around the edges, but still fierce. Lily, 23, and running the West Coast division of Little Wolves. And Bear and Doc, and 30 other steel wolves who'd driven across 3 states to be here. Hell of a speech, Viper said. Thanks. Iron Jack would have been proud. Marcus smiled. I hope so. Lily tackled him in a hug. You made me cry in public. I'll never forgive you. You'll survive. Barely. She pulled back and grinned. What's next? Marcus looked at his family, at the people who'd saved him, at the movement they'd built together. More, he said. More kids, more clubs, more people who refuse to let anyone stay invisible. Viper clapped him on the shoulder. Then let's get to work. Damn. That night, Marcus stood on the roof of his apartment building looking out at the city lights. His phone buzzed, a message from the Little Wolves coordinator in Texas. Found another one. 14-year-old girl homeless for 6 months. We're bringing her in tomorrow. Marcus typed back immediately. I'll be there. He put away his phone and thought about his mother, his grandmother, Iron Jack, all the people who'd shaped him into the man he'd become. And he thought about the girl in Texas, 14 years old, 6 months on the streets, probably scared, probably hungry, probably convinced that she was invisible. Not anymore. Tomorrow, someone would see her. Someone would show up. Someone would refuse to let her fall through the cracks. That was the promise Marcus had made. The promise he would keep until his last breath. Because wolves never forget. And wolves never abandon their own. This story started with one hungry boy and one shared sandwich. It grew into something neither of them could have imagined. 8-year-old Marcus Webb gave up his only chance at a family to save a little girl he'd met once. He thought he'd lost everything. Instead, he gained a father who believed in him, a mother who held him when he cried, a sister who refused to let him go, a brotherhood that would die for him, and a purpose that changed thousands of lives. Today, the Little Wolves Initiative operates in 43 states. Over 2,000 children have gone through the program. 96% finish high school. 71% go on to higher education or vocational training. Hundreds of motorcycle clubs across America wear the Little Wolf patch. Thousands of volunteers wake up every morning asking the same question: who can I see today? And Marcus Webb Rains, the invisible boy who became a legend, is still out there. Still finding kids who've fallen through the cracks. Still showing up when no one else will. Still keeping the promise he made to his grandmother on her deathbed. Don't ever stop seeing the invisible ones. He never will. If Marcus's story moved you, do 3 things right now. Subscribe if you believe one person can change everything. Comment "Wolves never forget" if you're going to see someone who needs to be seen. And share this video with someone who needs to know that their past doesn't have to define their future. Marcus was 8 years old, homeless and invisible. He made one choice to save a little girl instead of himself, and it changed everything. That same choice is available to all of us, every single day. See someone. Save someone. Be the person who refuses to let anyone stay invisible. Because the wolves remember. And now so will you.